My name's Steve Heckeroth. I grew up in Southern California in the 50s and 60s when you couldn't see across the street because the smog was so bad. And I witnessed the Santa Barbara oil spill in 1969 that fouled miles of beaches. And at that time, I decided I was going to dedicate my life to finding alternatives to fossil fuel. And I first started as an architect doing passive solar design, figured out how to build a zero energy home, wrote a little book on it, and then I decided what's next. And the 1990 zero emission mandate came along and said that 2% of the cars sold in California had to be zero emission by 1998. So I thought, I'm going to work on electric vehicles. And I built electric Porsche Spyders, but the battery weight was huge, and tractors need weight for traction. So they're the ideal electric vehicle. So I switched my focus to electric vehicles, electric tractors. And this slide just shows that food prices are directly related to oil prices. Oil is what now powers our agriculture, and we need to switch that to the sun. And when we're powering things from the sun, we can turn them into electric vehicles. And this slide shows the difference in efficiency between electric vehicles and diesel. You can see electric motors are more than 90% efficient. Gas and diesel engines are less than 20% efficient. And if you include the idling, they're even less than that. And then with electric motors, there's something called regen, which recharges the batteries when you slow down or brake. So you're actually gaining more energy than 100% of what diesel can do. Because when you burn diesel fuel, you can't put it back in the tank. So in 1992, I built, I think, what was one of the first full-function agriculture electric tractors. And so you could say I was kind of on the bleeding edge of this technology. Not too many people had heard of electric tractors or even knew that it was possible. But I went from the Porsche Spyder there to setting up a factory in Mendocino County in Fort Bragg and starting to produce electric tractors back in '94. I put inverters on board, so it was a mobile AC power source. And I got a commission from Ford New Holland to build a tractor for them in '95. And put it out. They shipped it to New Holland, Pennsylvania, and we demonstrated it, and it was very successful. And then I got another commission from a Japanese company to build a minesweep unit. This is a tractor that I put a boom out in front, and it had a cylinder with chains on it so it could beat the ground and explode landmines left over after wars. And it was also a very successful project, built a bunch of prototypes and innovated battery exchange system, use of linear actuators, a solar shade canopy, inverter on board, and many other firsts for electric tractors. And it had a hitch in the front and in the middle. Then I started working on track machines because they have less compaction and more traction. But it turns out because there's so much friction in the tracks that they're not very efficient and not very much runtime. So I did that for a few years, dug my pond, and then went on to build a row crop tractor. Became really interested in the most efficient way to grow food, which is in row crops. And this is, I got a grant from the U.S. India Science and Technology Fund $500,000, and over, I guess it was about a 10-year period, developed 4 prototypes. Finally, with one that had a 3-point hitch in the front for loaders and reapers, in the middle for cultivation tools, so you could see what you were doing in front of you. There wasn't any tractors being built anymore where you could see actually what you were doing, because they went to poisons in the Green Revolution, which is actually the toxic revolution. And everything wanted to be behind you because it was poison. So there was tractors back in the 50s, like the Alice Chalmers G, that had the engine in the rear so you could see what you were doing. So this tractor was based on that. And it also had the 3-point hitch in the back and the PTO for standard implements. So this was the lineup of tractors that I had for my company in 2020. A small compact tractor, a 40 horsepower utility, a 70 horsepower vineyard. The vineyards thought they needed 70 horsepower to go between their vines. And I would say, why do you need 70 horsepower? They said, because we've got to rip up the soil because it's so compacted. And I go, well, why is it so compacted? And they go, well, I guess it's because our tractors weigh so much. And so it's a cycle of compaction and tillage that doesn't need to happen. So when people woke up to the regenerative movement, they said, what we can do is we can plant cover crops, and those roots will go into the soil and they will till the soil. The roots go deep, they die, they make a path for water to get through, so you don't need to rip up the soil. So I built the 70 horsepower because that's what they were asking for, but that's not what they needed. When they switched to regenerative ag, they need a very small tractor. And this is just to show the evolution of where I am now. Going from a 75 horsepower diesel with a 25 horsepower vine trimmer to a 25 horsepower electric with a 1 horsepower vine trimmer. So you can see the huge savings both in money, save $100,000 on the initial purchase, and then you're powered off the sun. So you don't have to buy all that expensive fuel, and those hydraulic motors are just ridiculous. They break down all the time, they're very expensive. And then I went back to my roots. I was a BCS dealer back in the early 80s, and I got tired of working on gas engines, and so I converted one to electric in 1992. And I thought back to this conversion that I had done, and then realized that that was all that was needed, was a small electric tractor that could do cover crop seeding and do all the things that were needed on small farms. So this is the invention. I call it the E2T, the electric 2-wheel tractor. It's got a motor in each wheel, so it has 0 steering capability. It's very maneuverable. You can get a PTO, a 10 horsepower PTO that hooks into it. It has 10 receivers on it. And these receivers are just like the truck hitch on the back of your truck. They'll carry like 2,000 pounds, and there's 10 of them on here. So you can just about do anything that you can think of. Pulling ATV implements, hooking up a PTO, and using any of the BCS or walk-behind implements. You can use the Tillmore cultivators, and it also comes with seats, so you can sit on it, and you can harvest with it, and you can transplant with it, and it has a solar shade canopy, and you can get dual wheels for it, so that it has more traction. So it can use any of these implements that you can imagine for small farms. And it runs off a fraction of the energy that a diesel tractor uses, and it improves productivity over using hand tools by 20 times. So you can grow so much more food, and you can be powered off of solar energy. So it's a little tiny machine, but it can do a big job, all kinds of big jobs. It's perfect for small farms, in greenhouses where you need a lot of maneuverability and you don't want to have emissions. For under solar panels, the agrivoltaics cost $4 a watt to install, but ground mount systems cost $2 a watt. The reason that agrivoltaics cost so much is because they have to be high enough so a tractor can drive under them. Well, the tractor I build is 2 feet high. So they can save half the cost of installation solar on agricultural land with this tractor. Replacing hand labor is the main thing. There's 600 million farms in the world, and most of them are worked with hand tools, and that makes them very inefficient and unprofitable. If they had this machine solar powered anywhere in the world, solar energy is everywhere. Diesel fuel is very hard to get in most parts of the world. So this machine would make it possible for these subsistence farms to become economic units in their community and be able to solve a lot of the food issues we're having. And also, at the same time, if we cover the earth with green again, we can reverse climate change. We can get rid of diesel tractors. And this diesel tractor here has a guy sitting on the back transplanting. And so you've got 2 people doing the work that my little tractor can do with 1 person with solar energy instead of diesel fuel. And then robots are so expensive. They're like $100,000 for robots. So we got to get back to simplicity and solar energy and use regenerative farming. This shows what conventional farming is: bare ground, which means all the carbon in the soil is put into the atmosphere. If you do regenerative farming, you keep the carbon in the ground. And the tractor is designed to go over the bed, and so you go on the same wheel tracks year after year and preserve the growing soil. So the soil stays alive and healthy and able to support healthy plants that make healthy people. This is the circle of life that is going to get us to the point where we can slow down climate change. If we can switch to solar electric machinery and do regenerative practices. This shows global world temperature coming out of an ice age. Usually when we come out of an ice age, plants start growing more all over the world, and it's plants growing, sucking carbon out of the air and putting it in the ground that makes a safe climate for us to exist. And so when agriculture started, that global climate rise, temperature rise, leveled off, and then agriculture took off and the climate actually went down. And then as soon as oil took over, the temperature went straight up with the Industrial Revolution. And now we're in a point of no return almost. So we've got to stop using fossil fuel and start using solar energy and regenerative methods to grow our food and cover the earth with green again. Then we can feed the world's population and make an environment that's safe for people in the future. Thank you.
All right, I represent those expensive robots that Steve was talking about, but hopefully not expensive. So we'll talk about that. All right. So my name is Suma Reddy. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Gather Agriculture. And our mission is really around building simple thank you. Simple robotic tools for small farms. So first, we are a local company. We're based right in Merced, California. This is a fraction of the team. And again, kind of this mission of AI-powered robotic tools for small farms. So there's a lot of challenges facing our food and agricultural systems today. I'm sure everyone in this room can name them. Everything from our conservation demands, which Steve has highlighted, our fragile supply chains, even geopolitical dynamics. But when we speak to a lot of small farms, growers, processors, producers, they do mention one word, labor, and our farm workers. So, as speakers have said, right, farm work is knowledge work. And so when we are facing an urgent and growing worker shortage, 21% on many farms, that's exacerbated by an aging and declining workforce. Astoundingly, I was reading the average age of a farm worker is 42. As someone in my 40s, your body's starting to break down. It just doesn't work. So that it becomes a real problem. And then on top of that, we're seeing the accelerating heat, rising temperatures, and injuries accelerating the trend. So OSHA did a calculation, and currently it's around $8.3 billion is the cost of injuries due to warming and or heat. And that's leading to over 30,000 work days. What this means on many of our farms is that we're not harvesting all of our crops. And so this could be up to 30% revenue loss for our farms, our owners, managers, and workers in California, where you're seeing around 80 or $60 billion is how much California earns from agriculture. A 30% revenue loss is almost $18 billion. So this hits that wide swath of everything from the human impacts, right, our family and economic impacts, and as well as our macroeconomic impacts, all around about how we're getting food onto our plate. So top of that, and this is where we come in, we're using very, very outdated tools. I'm going to click this off. So we are still using tools like the wheelbarrow, which was invented 2,000 years ago in China. And it's a tool we're still using today. And on many farms, you'll see tools like that being used to haul and transport materials for up to 2 hours per day. So it was with that Gather was born to create simple AI-powered robotic tools to increase harvest efficiency and farm worker safety. The other challenge that we are trying to solve is actually after talking to a lot of growers, they said this: robotics for farms seems too costly and too complex. Steve used the figure of $100,000. We've seen figures of $20,000. And so that becomes inaccessible, completely inaccessible, especially for our small farms. The other piece of it is complexity or being hard to adopt. So here, getting technology in the field is a challenge for farm workers, farm managers, right, our entire crew. And then on top of that, also the inconsistency. So a lot of new technology doesn't always work all the time. And that's just the nature of innovation. So we were tasked with one challenge from the folks that we spoke to in the agricultural industry. They said, can you make a farm robot that is simple and cheap? So we went back to our offices, and as technologists, we said, no, that's actually impossible. We want more features, not less. But then we thought even further, and we said, let's look at Home Depot. Let's look at Tractor Supply. What do those kind of equipment look like in those stores? And that's how we came up with sort of our core guiding principles. We felt that technology needed to be purpose-built. We felt that it absolutely needed to be accessible to get into the hands of not just the largest farms out there. We thought it needed to be simple and easy to use. We felt it needed to be human-centric, or as human-centric as possible, and sort of grounded and down to earth in that way. So it was with these 5 principles that we created our first robot. So I don't know if how many of you guys saw it out there. I had the Santa Claus skeleton thing. Great. And I hope you guys got to try it. So the Gather rover, it's essentially a personal on-farm robot. It's purpose-built and it's designed to autonomously transport crops and materials around the farm. 4 key features: minimal setup and training. For those of you who used it, we could probably train you in less than 3 minutes on how to use the system. 2 simple operations. So a lot of robotics equipment requires GPS, and then you have to set up base stations. This current version has no GPS requirements. 3, compact and portable. Many systems can be 400, 500 plus pounds. This is around 150 pounds. You can throw it on the back of your pickup truck. And then 4, budget friendly. So rather than the $100,000 price point that Steve indicated, we're really trying to build this for something like around $9,000 to $12,000 for this iteration. Diving into the details for those who want to know the specs, we have 4 main things. One, we use it's an autonomous vehicle. And so as an autonomous vehicle, one of the things that you'll see is that it can follow a person autonomously. You saw that feature today. It can also follow rows, and in the future, we'll have more advanced autonomy. Safety becomes a priority, right? You don't want it to run into you. You don't want it to run into your vines, for example. So having obstacle detection. Communication is via Wi-Fi. So nothing super fancy like LiDAR or radar, things like that. Battery powered, so like Steve's vehicle, also an electric vehicle. Customizability is really important to us, so it's a flexible attachment system. So today what you saw was a Santa Claus that went on top of it. The practical on-farm use is to haul, wheelbarrows, to haul trailers. In the future, we see people hauling mowers and sprayers, and really use your imagination. This is a tool that is designed to do what you want to do with it. And then the 4th, all-terrain travel. So the towing capacity is around 800 pounds, up to 5 mph, but we set it at 3 from a safety perspective. And 4 fairly narrow rows, not the narrowest, but 29 to 30 inches, and it can turn in place, which is kind of a cool feature. And so we're a very young company. We're a couple years old, and this year we've been piloting this technology on different small farms and table grapes in California, Tennessee, and Arkansas. And so here's a sample of it, of some of the partners we work with. So we'd love to just end with sort of some of those visuals. But one call to note, we've been working with incredible ecosystem partners. F3 Innovate, which is here today, just recently gave us a grant allowing us to do more R&D and piloting. Ag Launch, the vine is in California. UCNR, all of you guys know that, in California, and the California Table Grape Commission. So I want to mention that because we cannot reach our growers, reach our farmers without these ecosystem partners. So absolutely could not be here without events like this. And I will add CAF as well to this slide because they've been an incredible support as well. But so here's some of it in motion. So here's a small farm. When we said materials, I didn't imagine it to be bedding, but it's how this guy wanted to use it. I think, don't have, here's, again, playing around with the system, building up. And then right here it talks about it being, a very practical device to move equipment and materials, but also a lot of fun to use. And he said it's not an adjective I would normally use for my farm equipment, but he enjoys using it. On the perennial side, right, like table grapes, orchards, this is something we're playing around with too. This is row following. So it's using computer vision to detect the rows and go down a row. I'm going to go forward because I think, and Drew here is talking again about the simplicity, farm worker appreciating it, the adaptability, and the universality. So our mission really is around building this future of work in agriculture, improving our food resiliency, making farm work safer and easier, training the future agricultural technologists, so working with the Farm Robotics Academy and students like those of you in this room around the tech that can be adopted on farms, and really aiming to enable and energize the industry as well. So thank you, and my information is there, cell phone and email, so feel free to reach out anytime.
So my name is Ricardo. I'm with CalStart. We're here at our second event with the Cal Small Farm Tech Expo. Super excited to be here. I get excited to show up to events and just have great discussions with everybody from farmers to stakeholders and people in the industry. I think that's what it takes to move an industry, so excited to be here. We'll be going into some of what our team does. Just wanted to introduce the Valley team here. CalStart's, we're a nonprofit. We have over 300 people nationwide. We happen to have 3 here in the Central Valley, San Joaquin Valley. Director Valerie Thorson, who actually lives here in Merced. Madeline Brown, who has done a lot of work up in the mountains in Yosemite with yards and lives in Los Panos. I live in Porterville, California. So we are all driven here in the ag and understand and worked through the industries, and just really solid team. So I'm excited about our team. One thing that I wanted to talk about today was just getting past what I perceive as in the past had been only single items or equipment pieces for a farm, right? So an electric tractor, for example, for ag would be, to your case, he's a pioneer, right? And done a lot with it. But there's more on the farm to conceptualize. And so when I leave here today, I hope that we have a better grasp of what is on a farm, because you guys all work with it every day. My background is in sales, renewable farming, and been in the industry for over 15 plus years. So have worked with farmers, have sold to farmers, have been told to leave farms, and always come back because I always want to figure out that next step. So exciting enough. We're looking at equipment, vehicles, and infrastructure on a farm. Just ideally, we're just going to think about those 3 core items. And then when we think about equipment, we can think about tractors, excavators, lifts, multi-purpose tools, dumps, and so many more things that are used on a farm that can be in an equipment, right? So a farmer doesn't usually have just one piece of equipment he relies on, right? He relies on a lot of different equipments, whether it's attachments or actual equipment to drive the work that they're doing. So wanted to look at vehicles. Now, as far as vehicles, work class vehicles from class 2B all the way to class 8. What I mean by that is at 8,500 pounds, that becomes 8,501, it becomes a class 2B vehicle. That class 2B vehicle then enters a realm where CalStart looks at medium and heavy duty vehicles. To change transportation is really what we're doing, but in order to do that, we have to look at a lot of different modes of what transportation means. So vehicles are on farms. Every day, farmer has to get into a type of vehicle to drive, and typically there's a work truck involved. Typically there's other vehicles that he may exchange at times to do runs to other farms, haul things, and those good things. So on farms also is UTVs, ATVs, and light duty vehicles, things that would be a little bit smaller, classified. And then looking at infrastructure, we're talking about electricity, we're talking about gas, propane, we're talking about different types of energies that will be on a farm, as well as chargers, mobile power solutions, temporary power solutions, and the utility upgrades and any advantages that you can use from those points of view. So it's important to understand that farmers are not just farming. A lot of the times people assume, they do it for being a farmer, and there's a lot of pride and respect in that, but ultimately you're trying to run a business and an operation, and so that's very important when you look at what you're presenting to farmers. And as some of the presenters before said, if it's not economical, it's not viable, and it's not reliable, it's very few and far between that product will not last, and it will not give a farmer what it's going to need. So I just wanted to bring that up. Looking at my next slide, this is a tool that we have on our core website that you can get to. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because before, again, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago and before, we would talk about, this list wouldn't be as big at all, actually. This list would be very concise. But now if you look at select equipment type, those are significant, right? Now we're talking about entering construction welding equipment, things that are actually purposely doing meaningful work for longer terms, not longer hours and periods of time. And not only that, look at the manufacturer selection now. I think that's something important to notice, is that you have some of the bigger guys coming. You had mentioned New Holland. There's CAT, there's Caterpillar, there's Toro, there's Case IH. So you have more people coming to the market. The reason being is that, it takes technology some time to get up. You have innovators and creators that pave the way, and then you have other people that are kind of waiting and more behind the case. But what it's exciting is that the options for farmers are growing. So I think that is exciting to kind of label. Core is what I'll talk about currently. This is why we're here to talk about small farm and ag tech, but I will highlight where there is more incentive money in pockets. Unfortunately, right now, I wanted to preface that Core is closed. It was oversubscribed in almost every category except for one. So this is a clean off-road equipment voucher incentive Core project. And we hope next year that we'll get some news. We don't have any dates, nothing as far as funding on when that will be available, but this is a point of sale voucher. Some important changes that have happened is, and some overview of it, is in 2020, this was put in place to help mitigate cost, right? The essential entrance of zero emission equipment has tended to be higher, so programs such as these were used to help relieve that upfront cost. So point of sale voucher, you take it in to dealerships that are participating, that are CARB approved, and at that point those dealerships then will reduce the overall amount of that voucher at the point of sale, and then you're paying the difference. So there is no scrapping of existing internal combustion equipment that is required. Some local agencies may opt to do that and ask for that. In this particular program, that is not the case. Stacking or combined core funding with other public funding programs is allowed, but there is a rule of thumb, obviously, looking at state, local, and federal. We just got to make sure we're clear on what's available and what can be stacked, and we kind of sit down with those. Cal Fleet Advisor can sit down with you, or somebody at the dealership can help relay that information on what is stackable and what's not. An additional voucher plus ups available for infrastructure and equipment deployed in disadvantaged communities, low income. And here in the Central Valley, there's a lot of opportunities. So just want to bring that to note. Terminal tractors were not eligible. This funding cycle was a big change. The reason being is that they operate every day, they have short mileage, and they call terminal tractors are yard goats that I've heard, and they'll pull semis in different fleet lots and move those trailers. We took those off because they were paying for themselves, basically. You look at the return and rate of return on those items, and so we wanted to put more money to other eligible equipment. So, a couple of the voucher application window has been reduced to 6 months, 3 months, which means that we can, if some applications weren't going to continue, then we can exercise the ability to put that money back into the fund quicker, right? So that helps. And then eligibility is limited to small business and public agencies for this funding round. That was an important one. And again, as I said, it is exhausted, so I do apologize, but just wanted to give some of the revisions for those. And then revised definition of a small business. Going forward, eligibility will be based solely on gross receipts, defined as business with average annual gross receipts of 15 million or less. Talking about some of the exciting things again, these are the categories that would fall in. The only one that we did not exhaust was the commercial hovercraft, I believe, and the other 8 were oversubscribed. So So, if you want more information on this specific program, here's the info at california.org. And californiacore.org, and then also we typically have booths out here and where we present, so if you want more information, definitely can get you on that. Wanted to move into, as a small business, there can be stakeholders that need types of vehicles. So HVIP is administered by CalSTART. This is a known program. It's the Clean Truck and Bus Voucher Incentive Project. It provides a point of sale, again, voucher, which discounts at the local business that the dealership's going through. That money that then is in turn given to you on the discount, and you make the purchase of the vehicle. In 2009 was this specific HVIP program, and it's we've exhausted every year. We tend to exhaust what amount is given there, and we're excited to also note that it is a first come first serve funding cycle, but through a settlement, a HENO settlement here. We don't have specific dates, but please sign up to get information on HVIP. There should be money becoming available in the near future for HVIP. So, how to participate in HVIP? It's pretty simple. You choose your zero emission vehicle, which means go out, research what does your farm need in a vehicle. Do you need a transport vehicle? Do you need a box truck? Do you need a class 2B with extended range batteries to get it into that class 2B? There's some research to be done. We're always happy to help, as well as connect you with dealerships. But if you go to the website, you can find the authorized dealerships. You'll complete a purchase order. You'll sign the terms and condition, and you'll drive away with the savings. To give you an idea of what those incentives look like, currently this is what the base voucher amount looks like, and again by weight, categorically, going down from top to bottom. To give you an idea of what its class 2B is, that would be essentially you've got your 4 250s that are 8,500 pounds or higher or more, would fall under that classification. So that's why I had mentioned there are vehicles out there that would work on a farm that would be your Chevy Silverados now have their extended battery version. Ford Lightning has their extended battery version. Voltu, which has a version which is a 4x4 truck that is on a Ford or Chevy chassis. I forgot exactly what it is, but so you have multiple options now coming to the game where those trucks are used in your farms, right? They're hauling, whether it's transporting equipment, checking water, doing different types of applications, or is a work truck essentially. Those would fall under there. Exciting enough, small business and voucher would get more. So there are some plus ups for that. And looking into those, there's obviously specifics that you would have to meet in criteria, but we're happy to go through those with you specifically. This is to stay tuned. Again, if you're interested in this program, it is going to be coming about pretty soon. Please log in, sign up for the information. They will notify you when that funding pool becomes open. So I'll give you a second to get that. And again, you can research vehicles. You can directly move and see funding pots and when they're available through this website as well. See where all the dealerships are and different types of equipment. Similarly, I know it's the same slide as far, but what we're going to talk about now is a different type of program within HVIP, which is ISEF. ISEF is going to be for that smaller farmer that's wanting to take the step out and start moving into zero emission pathway, but as you all know, a small business cannot take and mitigate risk and accept risk and fail as a bigger company might be able to, right? And so making an expense or going out and making a judgment call to bring in, and if you only have one vehicle and you're switching out that vehicle, if that one vehicle doesn't work, that's a problem, right? And so I think ultimately this gives the farmer an opportunity, or a small business owner, the opportunity to lease for a year, if possible, work some type of an arrangement where it's a purchase option, which has just become available in October, to be able to purchase this vehicle after the lease term, right? So it really allows you to get your feet wet as a small business. It is a set aside within HVIP supporting small fleets. So large commercial fleets cannot apply, and revenue is part of this, and appreciate it. 2 minutes, thank you. So We'll go a little quicker. I wanted to get to CFA, but this is essentially a great program to help flexible acquisition options. And so lease, rentals, trucks as a service, peer to sharing. It's ultimately a way to address barriers that farmers or small business are having to adopt. Here are the key concepts behind it. Small fleet for private, public companies, nonprofits, or owner-operators. 20 or few, medium or heavy-duty vehicles, and under $15 million revenue. That would be what you really, the top indicators to be able to apply for this. And so we'll move a little quickly, and these will all be available as well. So just again, showing you some options, how you can fix monthly payments, main to lease to own. And what it's doing is essentially, it's giving you the opportunity to try something at a smaller stake in the game to be able to figure out what works for you. I've been an athlete and I train, and it doesn't ever work when you go train for 16 miles the next day and go run 16 miles, right? So you have to take it in chunks, see what works for your operation. Then at that point, you can start implementing strategy. I typically say that, you know, find the infrastructure, find smaller projects that your farm or small business can consume in a small amount and not hurt the business in stride, then work from there, right? So ICEF opens in this, it is open currently, so it is an important program to look into. And again, it's specific to small businesses, and $30.5 million in October. That's gone down, but still a large sum of money left for that. Plus ups is what I'm highlighting again on the regular HFIT voucher here, but you're getting significantly more if you are a small business. Want to learn more? That's where you go at ICEF at californiahfit.org. Finally, real quickly, I just wanted to get into Cal Fleet Advisor. This is your one-stop shop for sitting down and talking to somebody about what your business does and how then in turn can we blueprint a pathway for you. So what's exciting about this is no cost. It's funded by CARB. A lot of praise through this because again, we're agnostic. What we want to do is understand your business and where to connect those dots. So this is a great resource. We've looked at over a lot of 400 plus fleets, and now it's more since this was almost last year. And the biggest thing was just the confidence and duty cycle. A lot of these top ones, the reason I'm bringing this up is we figured out some of the top ones already, right? So once we start getting to those top ones, these bottom ones really start to fall into place, right? More information, education, where does the money come from? How do I implement it into my strategy of my company, right? And then this is what we're doing down here, but now this is starting to be a big part, right? Where is the network and the access? And we're talking long-term, where these things are saving you money in the long term, right? And so I think here, this was just a scenario that we painted out with one of the fleets that we discussed. A lot of times there's roadblocks. So when we break this down, capacity, we can use mobile power units, temporary power solutions, and there's other ways to effectively get things done without just saying no to the project, right? And that's what we're really trying to highlight with Cal Fleet Advisor. Finally, driven to deliver, we had a great opportunity to sit with 3 fleets, OK Produce, Home Auctioning Company, and Duncan Trucking. All these have successfully deployed this strategy, whether it's hydrogen, electric, or both strategies. And there's a webinar on calfleetadvisor.com, and you can go to it. And I urge you to watch it because they're very candid on their responses. They're very open to when it was good and when it wasn't. And what's great is they learned along the way, and they did a lot of the learning that you can evade, right? You can learn from their mistakes and then make the next step. So it's exciting to see that it's being done here in the Valley. What I hope today is that you guys leave, and again, you can sign up for Cal Fleet Advisor right here, free, no cost. The objective here today was just to tell you that there's great things happening. There is opportunity, and would love to share more of that information with you back at the booth and through different slides. So thank you. I think questions.